Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Celestial Garden Show. I'm your host, Shanice, and this is your weekly transit talk where we break down the astrology for the week so you can move through the energy with more clarity, alignment, and intention. This episode is for the week of April 28th through May 4th, 2025. As I was prepping and looking over this week's astrology, the word that stood out to me is initiation. And I chose this word because it feels like we're all being invited into something new, but it's not loud and it's not flashy. It might be happening more internal first, like we're mentally rewiring our actions, and you might even feel a little unsure at first. But it's the kind of beginning that starts off as whispers before you hear the full conversation. All right, so the tarot cards I pulled for this week's astrology were actually two cards that came out while I was shuffling, and the cards are the Page of Cups and the Page of Pentacles. And together, they are giving a curious, heart is taking grounded steps type of energy. And as far as the Page of Pentacles go, it's more like the learner or the person or tangible thing represented by you or whoever is willing to put in the slow work of turning intention into something more real. As for me, this week, I am getting more grounded in recognizing the fact that I do not want to offer readings anymore. So, starting in May, I am not offering any readings, and I'll be focusing fully on financial astrology as well as teaching astrology. I'm putting that into action this week, especially because we are starting this week off in the Taurus new moon's energy. So, this new moon was actually today while I'm recording it. And its aspects were pretty harsh. It was squaring both Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. And I noticed a lot of people saying they felt like they were stagnant, but now they're knowing which direction they want to take. So this week isn't really about being perfect or having it all figured out. With all of that being said, um, it's about answering the call, even if your voice shakes. And it's about letting desire and intuition guide you while also staying grounded in your values. And that's exactly what this week is giving astrologically. So, before we get into this week's astrology, we need to circle back to some loud and really messy energy that came up last week. The first thing that came into my awareness last week was Shannon Sharpe's mess. Scrolling on social media, you probably saw his name getting dragged through the mud after allegations of sexual misconduct had surfaced. And astrologically speaking, this wasn't random at all because around April the 22nd, the moon was moving through the late degrees of Aquarius. So that was right at the tail end of the third quarter moon phase. And it was activating tension points in his birth chart, his natal chart. So it was squaring Uranus, it was opposing Jupiter and trining his retrograde Mercury in Gemini. So overall, this was emotional messiness and reckless talking, um, basically in the sky, like in the cosmos. On top of all of that, Neptune in Aries is sitting right on top of his natal Chiron. So that's the energy of bleeding out old wounds he probably thought he handled and had under control. And I personally feel like Shannon Sharpe is a Sagittarius rising. It fits too perfectly for him because he has this big energy, like he's a big tall guy. He plays football. And I feel like he has a constant need to speak, even if what he's saying doesn't make sense at all. Like I can see that throughout his interviews when he's interviewing people on Club Shay Shay. And then he has like this ego, like him crashing when his ego um is crashing with like the bad judgment that he's made. Like it's finally starting to catch up. Like he's really starting to crash out, and that's so Sagittarius coded. You know, they don't really have any boundaries. They just keep going and going until the consequences finally catch up and you see them crash out. So we have to be mindful when we watch this and observe what happens next with these allegations. And honestly, this whole situation is giving textbook mutable meltdown. Sorry to my mutable signs, but it's that Sagittarius Jupiterian energy. It's just notorious for trying to outrun the consequences until spirit literally drags you back by the collar. um and this isn't just like some bad luck either. I feel like this is karma. Mutable signs: Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, they're all getting hit really heavy right now because of Saturn and the North Node being in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, and Jupiter in Gemini. So to me, this Shannon situation is like to the public a representation and just one example to the public of what could happen when you move reckless, thinking you're untouchable, especially being an athlete. A professional athlete at that. Okay, so enough of the drama. There was more of that last week, but I'm going to keep it light. And as for me, last week was heavy, but more moments of like deep confirmation. Around the same time, Mars had moved into Leo, like literally the same day, I believe. Beyonce released her actual birth certificate, like in the cover art or the album art of Cowboy Carter. And it was confirming what I've been saying for years, that she's ruled by Mars. She's actually an Aries rising. And Beyonce was born around 9 p.m., like around 9:40 something p.m. Um, in Houston, Texas in 1981. Look up her birth date. And it might not seem big to people, but for me, it was because I've spent years like studying astrology, tracking it, and practicing real astrology like in my own life, not just Googling keywords and guessing charts and stuff and playing like pop astrologer and trying to go viral on social media. So, watching confirmation unfold took a weight off my shoulders, and it also helped me ease that imposter syndrome that I've been carrying for a long time. And I feel like I've talked about it a few times, but I have imposter syndrome when it comes to astrology. A lot of people don't take it serious. The people that I would like to take serious don't. So, I feel like I'm always trying to convince them to take it serious. And that part of me that felt like I had to over explain myself just to feel respected as an astrologer. I've been bullied, doubted, and overlooked. And still, I just keep showing up, you know, to study this sacred practice, this sacred craft, because I really believe in it. And moments like last week really reminded me why. So, Beyonce's birth chart is a masterclass in soul contracts. Her Venus conjunct Pluto in Libra, which is her seventh house, shows not just her intense relationship karma, but her fan base obsession too. So when you really study astrology, you can see it clear as day when you look at her chart. Even with Michael Jackson, he has his sun conjunct Pluto in the seventh house. which was obsessive or obsession when it comes to his fan base, or his fan base being obsessed with him. And seeing her confirm her birth chart to the public, even if it was something small, like her birth chart, it felt like spirit was telling me to keep going and to keep doing what I'm doing. And you are seeing what you are supposed to be seeing, like you are in the right place at the right time. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. The same thing that I tell my clients. So last week was loud, messy, but also in its own way. If you took the opportunity and take my personal story as proof, that initiation sometimes is your inner knowing, and to keep going. Like, it's just that inner conviction. Sometimes God is giving you the closure, the clarity, or the confirmation you didn't even know that you needed to keep going, to keep moving forward. So with all of that being said, I don't want to get too preachy. Let's zoom out and look at the energy for the whole week, April the 28th to May the 4th, 2025, before we get into the daily breakdown. This week, Monday opens up on a steady, grounded note because we're coming off of that Taurus new moon from Sunday. And the moon is still moving through the late degrees of Taurus on Monday and making some supportive aspects to the North Node, Uranus, Saturn, and Venus. So Monday, it might feel like Spirit is saying you are safe, you are supported, and now it's time to take the next step. So, Monday's a great day to set those new intentions around money, stability, health, or emotional security because we're still in that new moon energy. Now, by Tuesday, excuse me, by Tuesday, the moon moves into Gemini. So we may feel the pace start to pick up mentally. You might be feeling or having a lot of conversations or ideas popping up, or even some realizations happening. So Tuesday's energy has a curious, talkative vibe to it, but it's not just like surface level chatter. It's demanding. It's like that the moon is forming sextiles and trines to Jupiter, Chiron, Mercury, and Mars. And it's suggesting that real healing and clarity can come through whatever we say or what is finally being said to us on Tuesday. Then midweek, the energy will shift again on Wednesday. Venus enters Aries for the second time this year because it's stationed retrograde at the beginning of March. And there was a lot of back and forth between Pisces and Aries. So, Venus in Aries can manifest as bold, independent, and unafraid to want what she wants type of energy. Things in our lives involving love, money, beauty, creativity, they will all start to speed up while Venus is in Aries. So that can mean our desires feel louder and impulses are stronger. Venus is in detriment in Aries, which means she can manifest as reckless, but isn't reckless if you're rooted in self trust type of energy. So, that being said, Venus conjuncts Neptune on Friday for the first time in our lives while in Aries. So this is a new cycle happening with Venus and Neptune in a fire energy, the first sign of the zodiac. And this is where things can get dreamy, confusing, or super spiritually activated. You might fall headfirst into some inspiration or realize you've been projecting an ideal onto someone or something. This conjunction is fantasy type of energy. It can be beautiful when grounded, but dangerous if you're ignoring some red flags. And by the end of the week, towards the weekend or when the weekend starts, we close with Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius. With Pluto stations, I noticed that the collective mood gets a lot heavier. So Pluto retrogrades are like a checkpoint around power, control, healing, and collective evolution. So if you feel emotional or tender this weekend, it's okay. You're not alone. So just trust it. Trust your emotions and trust where you are. This Pluto retrograde might be asking, are you in the right relationships with your own power? Or the right relationship, not with an S. Black people add an S to everything. Another question that this Pluto retrograde in Aquarius could be asking, are you creating or clinging to your relationship with power? So emotionally, we start the week stable and slow with the Taurus moon energy. Then things start to speed up in the middle of the week with the Gemini moon. And we'll probably feel sensitive and intuitive towards the middle of the week or midweek too, with the Cancer moon as well. So towards Friday and Sunday, we'll get more expressive and heart centered towards our creativity or relationships with that Leo energy. Overall, this week is asking you to be brave enough to start. So even if you don't have all the answers yet, just start. Okay, so let's get into the daily breakdown. Starting with Monday, April the 28th, the moon is in Taurus, and the vibe for Monday is grounded, calm, and really steady. So it's one of those days where you don't have to push and you just have to trust the moves that you're already making. Okay, so just go with the flow type of energy on Monday. It's very much a moon day. It's a good day for you to tend to like your real world needs. So running small errands or being productive and letting small steps carry you. The energy is really solid and you might feel a push to make some low key changes. Nothing too crazy, just some slight shifts that are more aligned with where you're trying to go. So just follow the good feeling, the grounded feeling that you feel on Monday. Follow what feels natural and not forced. So, some positive expressions of Monday's energy would be feeling emotionally supported in your next moves, unexpected opportunities that actually make sense, easy flow in relationships, finances, and plans. So, some challenging expressions of Monday's energy would be feeling stuck if you resist um, some needed change, getting caught up in some perfect timing instead of just starting something. And lastly, emotionally withdrawing when you really need some connection, you need to socialize. So we have Pluto in Aquarius. If you are feeling lonely, we have this loneliness epidemic going on right now. Try to socialize, get out, even if you go to the grocery store, if you see someone that picks up something that you are interested in buying, start a conversation. I know that a lot of people are afraid, but you never know where a conversation could take you. Just listen to your body as well. Don't get caught up in anxiety. No, do a body scan meditation. We'll get to what you need to do. I'm moving ahead, moving too fast. So Actually, that's where we're headed next. So, what you need to do, so stick to your routines, but leave room for some surprises. So, like I said, go into the grocery store, but if somebody is picking up something that you are interested in purchasing, having a small conversation, or just having a conversation with the person at the register. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but maybe doing that on Mondays, starting a conversation, building community. Uranus is moving into Gemini in June, I believe, or no, July. Jupiter is moving into Cancer in June. Uranus is moving into Gemini in July. And Uranus in Gemini is asking us to break our comfort zones when it comes to community. And Pluto in Aquarius is asking us to take our power back. So having those conversations and getting out of that antisocial type of energy would help out with these new cycles that we're starting this year. So, another thing is notice where life is giving you green lights, even if they're small ones. So, gratitude, that's the next thing. Ground yourself in some gratitude as well. Trying to uplift yourself and do something that makes you feel grounded. Taurus likes to work with their hands. That's that Taurus energy. So, painting or, pottery, doing something on Monday that helps you feel grounded. Starting a garden, it's the perfect time to do that right now. Now, some questions that you can ask yourself on Monday are: where is life already supporting me more than I realize? What small shift today would help me breathe easier tomorrow? And what feels simple but powerful to choose right now? So that closes out Monday, moving to Tuesday, April the 29th. The moon will move into Gemini, and the vibe for Tuesday shifts where we'll start to feel more curious. Things might start to feel a bit more fast, even a little bit scattered. Your mind might be running and racing on Tuesday, and it might not necessarily be in a bad way, but please don't forget to take a moment to pause if you do feel overwhelmed or scattered. Give yourself space to think. Um, Tuesday is a great day to journal as well, or even just doing some sort of voice note can help you get those that scatter or those thoughts out, that mental chatter. So ideas might be flying on Tuesday. Conversations might open some doors if you're willing to stay curious, but be mindful not everything needs to be solved on Tuesday. Gemini energy is very curious, so be open to seeing where things go. Sometimes it's just about listening and not absorbing anything, so just let those things marinate and see where they flow. Some positive expressions of Tuesday's energy: you might have some mental breakthroughs, some honest conversations that spark a change, or you might reconnect with curiosity and get playful. Some challenging expressions of Tuesday's energy is some sort of information overload, saying too much without grounding yourself first, and getting distracted by 100 things with that Gemini energy. And Jupiter is also there too. So try to stay as grounded as you can. The sun is in Taurus right now, so taking a walk, going to the park, like I said, starting a garden could help this week. So, what to do with Tuesday's energy? Voice memos would help with that mental energy and those thoughts if your mind is racing. A brain dump or journaling. Stay open to some messages coming in unexpected ways. I don't know why I cannot talk. I don't Mercury is not retrograde anymore. um Rest your nervous system if you are feeling scattered. So, some questions you can ask yourself on Tuesday. What conversations feel alive and energizing for me right now? Where am I trying to solve what really just needs space? What do I need to listen to without rushing to react? I think I'm straining my eyes right now, and that's why I am not seeing or reading things clearly or talking clearly. So let's get to Wednesday, April the 30th. The moon will be in Gemini all day, but Venus enters Aries. So this is some fresh energy coming in. Well, kind of, sort of, with the retrograde. Today's or Wednesday has like new crush type of energy to it, but it could get into some like impatience or feeling very impulsive, which I guess the same thing as impatient, but you have to remind yourself to stay grounded. Luckily, again, we have the sun in Taurus. So Venus moving into Aries is bold when it comes to love, money, and creativity. It's like we are not waiting anymore. We are going after what we want. So these are some big feelings showing up, some big wants, and a hunger to like move forward in some area of life. Um, whatever you're focused on, whatever your desire is, you're really, really going after it. So there's a mix of hope, some nervousness, and maybe even some frustration if things aren't happening as quickly as you would like. Just try to take some deep breaths. This is a good time with Venus and Aries to start meditation. Venus is in detriment in Aries. So she's not really comfortable. She's more fiery, more bold, more passionate. So she wants what she wants. But you just have to make sure you are desiring and chasing the right things that are good for you. So, some positive expressions of this energy on Wednesday would would be bold new beginnings in some love or creativity, you reclaiming your desires, or some fun, spontaneous energy that uplifts your day-to-day routine while Venus is in Aries. So, some challenging expressions of this would be acting impulsively from fear or frustrations, conflict over personal needs or obligations, feeling restless or stuck if immediate results aren't happening, you aren't seeing things happening as fast as you would like. So, some things you could do with Wednesday's energy is move your body. This would be a good time to start an exercise routine, or like I said, yoga. Let yourself dream bigger. Allow yourself to chase your desires, but also stay grounded in your values. And pick one thing that you can take action on Wednesday that you've been, pushing back since the beginning of the year. So, some questions that you can ask yourself are, what am I genuinely excited about right now? Um, where do I need to be brave enough to go first? And even if it doesn't look like I planned, or even if I don't have everything planned out, even if it's messy, what can I start today? And how can I honor my desires without abandoning my deeper values and deeper needs? This is where you would want to really sit down and make a list. So let's move over to Thursday, May the 1st. The moon will move into Cancer, and it's more of a sensitive, introspective energy on Thursday. The energy might feel more heart centered, more emotional, more nostalgic. You might feel more protective about your peace on Thursday and want to pull back a little bit more. Um, with this energy. On Thursday, you want to kind of lead with your heart and not your head. Some old feelings could resurface, and you might want to get stuck in comfort zones in your emotional safety. Um, so try not to intellectualize what you are feeling and just nourish yourself and take your time. So some positive expressions of this energy would be deep emotional healing, restoring emotional safety within yourself, reconnecting to your family roots. And some challenging expressions of this energy would be mood swings with that Cancer energy. I personally know it. I have a Cancer sun. You could be feeling overly sensitive to other people's energies or to your own energy, honestly. Just really moody and emotional and trying to avoid some discomfort. So, what you can do with Thursday's energy is try to create an emotional sanctuary at home. I don't know why I can't talk. Like, what is going on with me? um, Try to create some sort of emotional sanctuary and stay hydrated. Eat some comfort foods. Honor your emotions and try to not be judgmental about them, That's some advice I can give as a Cancer. We are very emotional. So I try not to be judgmental about other people's emotions as well because I'm so emotional as a Cancer. Some questions that you can ask yourself on Thursday. Where do I need to mother myself today? Cancer energy is the mother of the zodiac, so it's very nurturing. That's You can nurture yourself on Thursday. Go to the spa if you can. I wish I could. Go for me. um Another question you can ask yourself, what emotions am I ready to feel without shaming myself for them? And lastly, what does safety feel like in my body right now? A body scan meditation on Thursday. I always say body scan meditations, but I feel like they're great to do every day, honestly. It's something to implement, and Thursday would be a good day to do that, something to implement in your daily routine. So let's move over to Friday, May the 2nd, when Venus will form a conjunction with Neptune in Aries. So Friday may feel a bit dreamy. The moon will be in Cancer as well. So this is also some dreamy energy, some water energy. Venus conjunct Neptune is peak fantasy type of energy. It's beautiful for spiritual downloads and creative inspiration, heart awakenings. But you also have to stay aware with that Neptune energy of illusions and being manipulated, or not necessarily manipulated, but um, seeing what you want to see and not seeing the truth. So illusions, delusions, and lies. I guess that is a form of manipulation. So, but anyway, Friday's energy could feel like some sort of fall in love being swept off of your feet, dreamy type of day. But just check in and make sure that you are grounded in that beautiful energy. And some positive expressions of Friday's energy would be some heart opening moments, creative breakthroughs, and finally, deeply connecting to spirit or some form of art or creative project. Now, some challenging expressions of Friday's energy would be escaping into fantasy to avoid real emotions, um, idealizing people or situations beyond reality, getting confused about what's real and what's projection. Now let's look at Saturday's astrology. May the 3rd, the moon will be in Leo, a bit more playful, shift emotionally to our emotional world. But there's a little bit of depth underneath with that Plutonian energy. the moon will oppose Pluto, and that could bring some emotional triggers. So it could be giving like show up but stay real type of energy. So it's fiery but a little bit volatile on Saturday. It's good for like some courage, creativity, and showing up for yourself, but just be mindful not to like bulldoze through other people's emotional needs or your own. So, some positive expressions of Saturday's energy would be creative courage, heart led action, and boldness in love or purpose. Some challenging expressions of this energy would be overreacting or dramatic fallouts, taking things too personally, or acting before feeling it through. So, what you can do on Saturday would be let yourself shine through, like just be yourself, be authentic. Leo energy is all about shining and being bold and not dimming their light for anybody. But you also want to stay humble at the same time. So channel the extra energy you might have on Saturday into something creative, but also something that you can be mindful of on Saturday is to watch for your triggers. They're teaching you something on Saturday. So, some questions that you can ask yourself are, what's really fueling my reactions today? How can I move from heart instead of ego? And what's asking to be expressed instead of suppressed? So, lastly, we have Sunday. This week, we're closing it out May the 4th with Pluto stationing retrograde while the moon is still in Leo. So, it's kind of like some turning point type of energy. Pluto stations retrograde on Sunday, and Leo, the moon in Leo, will form a square to the sun in Taurus. So, it's asking us to realign, especially around our pride, power, and self ownership. So it's a day of like really reflecting, coming to terms and reflecting where you've been holding your power outside of yourself and what needs to be shifting in your life. Pluto retrograde, it's not to scare you. A lot of people are scared of Pluto, but it's really just wanting you to be more honest. So, some positive expressions of Sunday's energy would be some deep soul check moments, releasing emotional baggage, and some clear insight into what's next, what you need to do next. Some challenging expressions of Sunday's energy would be ego clashes, resistance to inner work, emotional drama masking as real growth. So, some things that you can do on Sunday: reflect with that Plutonian energy stationing retrograde, journal or meditate on what's shifting inside of you, and how can you honor how far you've come. So, some questions you can ask yourself: where do I need to reclaim my power? What outdated story am I finally ready to rewrite? And how is life trying to mature me right now? All right. So that's the astrology for April the 28th through May the 4th. Remember, this week is about initiation. It's about answering the quiet invitations life is giving you, even if it even if you don't feel ready to accept them yet. A new path could open when you say yes to the small changes that you make. So, if this episode resonated with you, don't forget to share it, leave a review, or tag me if you are tuning in. And if you're ready to go deeper into your own personal journey before May the 1st, so before this week ends, you can find the link to book a session with me, or you can join my newsletter. The show notes will have all of the links to everything that I just named. down in the description or the show notes. I hope y'all have a grounded rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one.